There are some broken hearts that will take a long time to grieve.
We begin here at 10 with breaking news. The city is grieving tonight after a Chicago police officer made the ultimate sacrifice in a shootout on the city's southwest side.
A sea of blue as squad cars drive in a procession for the officer shot and killed in the line of duty. In the last half hour, that procession ending with officers unloading his body from the ambulance as hundreds of officers look on. We have team coverage from the scene of the shooting to the hospital where police say that officer died from multiple gunshot wounds.
We begin with CBS 2's Jermont Terry live outside Mount Sinai Hospital. Jermont.
Joe and Erica, it's been a somber night, no doubt, here outside Mount Sinai Hospital, as there was originally hope that this officer, after he was rushed to the hospital, would survive. But as hours passed, more and more Chicago police officers showed up here, and then word got out that he did not make it. There was, in fact, a sea of blue at the emergency room entrance here at Mount Sinai, as law enforcement from across the region came to salute this fallen officer. An officer who joined the force 5 years ago, who comes from a family of public servants, according to Police Superintendent David Brown. As the ambulance left the ER, the procession slowly made its way down Ogden to the Cook County Medical Examiner's office. That's where hundreds of officers and first responders lined the street and the entrance. Tonight, Chicago grieves this fallen officer. We know he and his partner arrived to the Gage Park neighborhood. They encountered a man with a gun. Police say that 18-year-old started running, and Superintendent Brown says the fallen officer and that officer's partner ran after the man. That's when CPD says the suspect turned and fired multiple rounds, hitting the officer at close range.
The second car with the officer who responded, who is deceased, they all knew it was an officer with a gun call. And they were there, an offender with a gun call, and they were there to protect this victim. Every officer in this police department, and for that matter, every officer in this country, is grieving today. Policing is a big family of people who know at some point they may be asked to make the ultimate sacrifice.
Again, we can tell you that Chicago is mourning the loss of an officer who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Superintendent David Brown gave indication that that officer's wife came here to the hospital, and that's why all of these supporting officers came out to salute this fallen hero. Who ultimately paid the ultimate sacrifice, serving and protecting his family. The circumstances of what led up to this will be all under investigation, but tonight the city, departments, and all law enforcement across the country grieves with Chicago tonight. Reporting live outside Mount Sinai Hospital, Jermont Terry, CBS 2 News.
Yeah, difficult night for the city and beyond. Jermont, thank you.
Yes. Now we want to go to CBS 2's Marissa Perlman.
She is live at the scene of the shooting with more on what happened leading up to this officer's death. Marissa?
Well, Joe and Erica, it is considered the most dangerous call that a police officer can get, a call for domestic violence. And it is exactly what we have now learned that led that officer here to 52nd and Spalding earlier this afternoon. And the police superintendent telling us that this officer ran towards gunfire to save a life, but lost his own. Chicago police van seen racing from 52nd and Spalding. Again, this all started with a call for a domestic dispute on South Spalding Avenue. A man had a gun and was chasing a woman down the street. 4 officers arrived on scene in 2 separate cars. The first 2 officers knocked on the front door of a home, but a second squad car, one that carried this now fallen officer, caught up with the suspect. Police say a confrontation and chase followed. At one point, it's believed the suspect jumped a fence. That's when shots were fired. The suspect opened fire, hit the officer in the head and leg, and again, we now know he later died at Mount Sinai. Police say this happened to these officers without warning. Witnesses we spoke with say they heard 3 or 4 gunshots go off in their neighborhood.
I saw families running across the street to get away from the danger, and then I heard loud bangs, and I saw a cop just, I guess, holding on to whoever was there. And then after a couple of minutes later, I saw more cops running more to the direction.
Now, this officer was able to return fire, shooting the suspect in the head. Right now, police say he is alive, in critical condition. Again, this suspect, just 18 years old. Police say he had little criminal history. Of course, this investigation is now just beginning. COPA will now review the pod cameras and body cameras worn by these officers who were here on scene. So still a lot left to learn here about what happened earlier this evening. For now, we're live on the Southwest Side. I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS 2 News.
All right, Marissa, thank you.
Also showing his support tonight, fellow Chicago police officer Danny Golden. Back in July, Golden was shot while off duty and trying to break up a bar fight in Beverly. He was shot in the back, the bullet severing his spine and paralyzing him below the waist.
And this tragedy is bringing back some difficult memories for many of the last time a Chicago police officer was shot and killed in the line of duty. Back in August of 2021, Officer Ella French and her partner were shot during a traffic stop in Englewood. French was killed, her partner hurt. Ella French was just 29 years old.
And this shooting comes on one day after the city of Chicago voted for mayor. One of the two finalists in the runoff on April 4th, Brandon Johnson, releasing a statement saying, quote, "This is a sad and sorrowful day for our city, and my heart goes out to the family, friends, and colleagues of the Chicago police officer whose life was taken in the line of duty."
And the other finalists for mayor, Paul Vallis, tweeting, quote, "The courageous men and women of the Chicago police have suffered another tragic loss of one of their own to the ultimate sacrifice of protecting our communities. My heartfelt thoughts are with the officers' loved ones."
City leaders also showing support. In a statement, Alderman Marty Quinn, who represents the 13th Ward, said he supports the Chicago Police Department 100% and went on to add this, quote, "My thoughts are with the officers' family and our brave officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect our city."
We are staying on top of this breaking story on our app, CBS Chicago. We're not done with coverage on air. We'll be back at 10:15 with an update from our reporters.